Really excited to talk with you all about this particular review. However, we do know that I'm not actually here in person, but hey, I'm actually here to actually go with you the review for the physics particular test that is going to be happening tomorrow. So in here we have the first question, which is what is a luminous object, and give 5 different ways objects can be luminous. So first we need to know that luminous objects, they actually produce and emit light energy, and examples of those, which are 5 that we talked about on other classes, is the incident light bulb, where higher temperature results in light created and moving from the red region of view to that of the blue-white region. Now the next one is fluorescence, and fluorescence actually converts UV light into visible light. Next one is the light emitting diode, and this is actually influenced by the different materials that causes different color of light being produced. And the fourth one we're going to look at is chemiluminescence, which is where chemical reactions is actually done between 2 chemicals. Like for example, we have the stick glowing, or glowing stick, and what it does is that it mixes 2 chemicals, which is some kind of peroxide or so, and that of a dye, to produce light energy. And finally we have the bioluminescence, and this happens in majority of organisms where we have chemical reactions that occur inside. And example of what we talked about is the firefly, and we saw a cool video on how they were able to actually signal different, I would say, sexes on how to actually do interesting stuff. Yeah, that was pretty cool from National Geographic. Now number 2 question here is name the 3 scientific primary colors under luminescence, color addition, and 3 primary colors under the non-luminous, which is the pigment, color subtraction. Now the first one, which is on the left side, we have this here, which is linked to the white light. Once white light comes out, you contains the red, blue, and green. Combining all 3 will produce white light in this particular process, and in this case various interesting things happens that results in the combination of red and blue, red and green, blue and green, and stuff like that, and green and red. So all these are one of the interesting things that happens in luminous objects, which is linked to this particular concept called color addition. However, on the other side we have non-luminous objects, which perform mainly subtraction of colors. Like for example, yellow. Once yellow actually gets into a yellow object, what happens is that it's able to emit 2 other colors in a way, so absorbing 1 color and emitting 2 secondary pigment colors results in the view of yellow. And the same thing goes with magenta and that of cyan. These 3 here, they actually lead to black being produced for non-luminous objects. So black is when all these colors here are actually absorbed by a particular object that makes us see black color for that particular object. Now number 3 is how are the pigment primary colors related to luminous primary colors. So we do know that since red and green gives yellow, it is a primary color for pigment, and what happens is that 1 color is actually absorbed by a yellow object, where it is blue, and then what is reflected back at us is red and green. Since we have red green cones in our eyes, we're able to see the combination when our brain interprets it to give yellow. The same thing goes with magenta, and finally cyan. Now going to number 4, which is actually matching the following color addition to the secondary complementary colors. What we have is green plus red, which gives yellow, red plus blue gives magenta, and finally here we have blue plus green gives cyan. These colors here on the left side are actually a combination of primary colors of luminous objects, and they give secondary colors of luminous objects in here. But if you're going from right to left, we actually have on the left side of primary colors, which is for the pigment, going over to become the secondary colors for our pigment. So just a little bit of relationship between primary colors of luminous objects and primary colors of pigment objects. So fifth question here is looking at the eye level. We have two parts responsible for focusing light rays and receiving light impulses. So in this part here we have eye lens, which is this particular shaped object right here, and once light comes in, what we notice is that as light is coming from a source into the eye, the lens actually directs the rays into the back of the eye right here. So this converging process actually allows we to be able to receive light impulses, and then the rods and cone, where the rods, which actually is sensitive to black and white vision, is able to interpret the information, create shapes, dimensions, and also depth, and also the black and white to make us see the object, and why the color of the object is more sensitive to that of the cones. And we have three types of cones in our eyes, specifically humans. We have the red cone, we have the blue cone, green cone. Combinations of two of the primary colors here will result in three extra colors, and then all colors here combined together gives white. So the relationship between rods and cone is really crucial for we humans to see various objects, identify their colors, even though other organisms, they actually process this type of vision differently, because either they don't have a lens, or they do have a lens but they have numerous number of cones versus that of rods. And really interesting to see how different species have different types of specializations of the eye that makes them to be quite different in terms of looking at objects from we humans. So the last one here is which part focuses light rays to the back of the eye, and the final answer is called the lens, which is right here, which is more of a converging lens that converges the rays that is coming from a source into the back of the eye, which is the retina. So the next one here is explaining the three different ways in which light interacts with non-luminous objects. First we have is transmission, and transmission is when light rays passes through a medium, like for example a glass, and the more glass you put, the more it goes from transparent into translucent region, and finally to opaque, where light can actually pass through. Next is actually reflection, where light actually bounces from a source, like for example mirrors. We had three types of mirrors we talked about. We talked about the plane mirror, we talked about also the converging and convex mirrors. So next one in here is absorption, which is the final one, where pigments are actually specialized at this, which are non-luminous objects, and in here they actually take in light. Like for example we have chlorophyll, or where it's actually green, it takes in red and blue, and what comes out is green.